Hi, I'm JJ Conway, and I help hardworking women and a few good men build financial confidence and take ownership of their financial future. I'm cheering you on with education on financial literacy, smart investments, and passive income streams. Welcome to Ladies of Wealth.
So, let's talk before we talk about what to do with unwanted gifts. Let's talk about in my research for unwanted gifts and in my asking the people in my circle and the people that I volunteer with about unwanted gifts. I found the saddest thing, which is a lot of people felt like they weren't even given gifts in a proportion to what they received. A lot of people felt like they spent a lot more on gifts and gave a lot more gifts than were returned to them. And so I thought I would do some research on that because that's a problem that I absolutely used to have when I was younger, especially when I was early in my career and I was trying so hard to please everybody, or when I was early in my ministry and I was trying so hard to please everybody. Hey honey, I'm going to ask you, can you go get my cuppy off the dining room table, please? If dad wonders why you're awake, tell him mommy asked you to go get something. Thank you. I am going to have to edit this part, but hey, if I forget to edit this part, podcasters, my son's in here with me today, so he's running a little errand for me. Okay, so if you spent on gifts for a group of people, like let's say you're volunteering with a new crowd and you gave gifts to everybody on your volunteer team, and nobody so much as gave you a card, that can really, really hurt. And so, what I want you to understand is that there may be a situation where others may not consider you as much of a friend as you consider them. And that hurts. I know it hurts because I lived that so much in my younger days. Okay. And while that hurts, Happy New Year, Pastor. While that hurts, it's important to observe. When I was a pastor's wife, this is the first time I really saw it. When I was a pastor's wife, Philip's father was a pastor. I would give everybody a gift, and I felt obligated to do so. I didn't get I'll admit I was not the best pastor's wife, and I don't really have the best pastor's personality. The Lord is working with me; He's working on me. But I've noticed that a lot of successful pastors have a very intriguing and warm and welcoming personality, and I'm asking the Lord to help me be more of that. Not to take away my hard charge and get things doneness, because that's what makes me who I am, and He has need of that in the house of God. But maybe we can just wrap it in a new coat of, humility and kindness. Well, I like to think I'm pretty kind. And when people hear what I've done in my military career, they tell me I'm a little too humble. But I don't know. There's just something about me that says I'm amazing. And even though I think you're amazing too, it doesn't always come out that way, right? So anyway, but when my ex-husband was a pastor, I felt obligated to give everybody a gift. There were only a handful of people in the church that I liked, but if I only gave two people a gift, that everybody else was going to be upset that we were playing favorites and we didn't like everybody. So I had to buy everybody a gift, and I would buy everybody a gift, and then of course I want the tree at church to be pretty. So then I would go and decorate all the gifts in beautiful foil and ribbons. And I mean, I actually like to wrap gifts. You wouldn't know it to look at my gifts now, because it's like, you know what, these boys are gonna tear them up. They don't care. So tape, we're done, right? Gift bag, stuff, we're done, right? But back in the day, I didn't have kids, I didn't have a thriving business, I didn't have much of a ministry. I was just had plenty more time, you know, and I would just go through all that trouble, and then I would never get anything back. My ex-husband would get gifts back. They would give him gifts. They would give him gifts, and every once in a while he'd share them with me. But they never gave me gifts. And so this is when I had to have a real heart to heart with the Lord about why was I so upset about this? Because really, when we're giving from the heart, we're not giving with an expectation to receive. And I had to learn how to reframe it as giving gifts to the ministry. I'm not giving to them specifically. I'm giving to the Lord. I'm giving to the Lord, and He gives me the desires of my heart. Now, that's an abundance principle. And some of y'all will recognize that, because in the spirit of opulence, which is not as bad of the title was really not that great in today's world, but back when he wrote it, it didn't mean what it means today. Thomas Trode writes about first giving to others before you receive. That's a principle we talk about today, givers gain, right? and not to give what you don't have. Now it's interesting because this is back before credit cards were a thing and smartphones and stuff, but he specifically mentions money, without credit cards, I guess he must have been talking about like emptying your savings, chasing after the next snake oil business or opening doors for you. He was very emphatic about not giving money that you can't afford to give. And he said to give what you do have. And there are all kinds of forms of abundance. Some of the big ones are financial, relational, physical, self expression, spiritual, of course. And maybe you don't have abundant finances. Well, what do you have in abundance? Can you bless people spiritually? Can you help them physically? Can you give in the relational plane? Can you make connections? Some people's relationships are worth far more than gold. And so I'm choosing in that moment. I didn't know all the theory behind it. I had never heard of Thomas Troward. But in that moment, the Lord and I came to an agreement that I was going to give to people in one plane, physical, knowing that the Lord would repay. And he might repay in the physical realm. He might repay in the spiritual realm. He might repay later on down the line. He may repay in an unexpected time and an unexpected place where I need him to come through for me. And I know that some of those members that I really cared about, I mean, don't get me wrong, I cared about everybody, but that just didn't come out right. But some, yeah, I don't think I can fix it, but I'm gonna try. Some people you love, but you love them from a distance because they are dramatic and trying. But some people in that church, y'all, some of those people didn't get anything. And I know that for some people, our stopping by to visit, like when we used to have Bible study with some of the older people that were homebound, and they didn't have anybody else coming by. Was one lady I used to take with me to different trips, and I would help her with her money. She didn't get anybody come by her place or come out her way that wasn't trying to take advantage of her or scam her. And the only way to give those people something sweet at Christmas time without upsetting the others was to buy for everybody. So it was just, I had to reframe it as part of the cost. Everyone had to get a gift to make sure these people got a gift. And I just added that into my budget for making sure these people got a gift. But then I also began to notice a curious thing in the rest of my life. Now I know this isn't for everybody because a lot of people that are on my page, you are on my page because you're in business, you're trying to improve your business, you're trying to improve your finances. You already have a pretty good grasp of life and a grasp of people. But there's somebody who is watching this either now or after the fact that is going through a lot of pain because they're sitting today where I was sitting 20 years ago, when people didn't really gift me things or acknowledge special days for me. I remember thinking one time, is something wrong with me? And then I took this class at a new military job that I was in. It was a train the trainer for this thing called Fireside, which is a personality assessment that explores your desire for inclusion, control, and affection. And this assessment is really a great one. If you have a team that has become stagnant and they're kind of jaded against other team building efforts, like if we have to sit through one more True Colors or I'm a green and I'm a lion and I'm a gold or whatever it is, like if you, I shouldn't say that. I think gold goes with the lion, but like I'm certified in all of these different personality things, and a lot of times people come stagnant and they don't want to sit through one more thing of finding out that you like to be around people and you don't like to be around people, right? If you have a team like that, Firo B is a really good one because it's not the same old that we're used to in corporate training. It measures on control, like how much control you want over your productivity and how you want somebody to have control over your workday, or how much control you want to have over others. Interesting fact about Air Force officers, most Air Force officers want absolutely no control from you as their boss, and they want all the control over their people. Well, that's going to set up a bit of a power struggle, right? Because if everybody in the chain of command doesn't want to be controlled, and everybody in the chain of command wants to control everybody else, well, now you got conflicts. And so Fire B is really good for identifying that. And then also, sometimes, and I want to pause on that for a second. This wasn't part of what I was going to talk about today, but when it comes to your amount of control desired, it's not right or wrong. It's not right or wrong to decide you want somebody to have a lot of control. Like there are certain instances in my life where I want you to tell me exactly what you want so I know how to exceed expectations. I want you to give me the checklist. I am going to read a step, do a step, and get my banana. I am not going to come up with some pie in the sky creative thing when you want boom, 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 boom. Now, that's when you know what you want. If you don't know what you want, usually that's the better place to put me in, because as you talk through it, I can kind of coach upward. You know how we lead our bosses upward? I can kind of coach upward and kind of draw out of you what it is. And this is one thing that physicists do. I have both a physics degree and an engineering degree. And on the physics side, physicists are very good at conceptualizing nebulous thoughts and actually making it something that can be real. And the engineers are great at taking the real thing and actually making the real possibility and taking it and making it into a real thing. Somebody dreams up this thing of a cup that lasts forever. It keeps your stuff cold forever, keeps your stuff hot forever. The physicists can think about and conceptualize it, and double walls here and this and that, and we can have something like that. And you pass it to the engineer, and the engineer makes it happen. All right. So you need all kinds, right? But there's nothing wrong with what you want or don't want. It's just different. And so another one that the Fire Bee measures is do you is inclusion, whether you want to be included in the group dynamics or decisions, or do you want to just work alone and make your own decisions, or do you prefer to have some control and not some control, some group dynamics, but would you prefer the group make the decision and just tell you? Because some people are really, really good at working on their own, and they don't like group dynamics because the group never does what they want them to do. And then the worst part about it is they're usually right, but because of their personality is so off-putting, I have been that person. Because their personality is so off-putting, they don't play well with the group. The group doesn't give their opinions the attention that it deserves. And so then when you get a team like that and you do the Fire Bee, and they're like, well, why don't you want to be part of the group? Now you can open up the discussions, because now you can have the discussions, or you can find out that most of the group people in the group don't want to make their own decisions. The majority of people in the workforce don't want to make their own decisions. We're going to get back to friendship in a second. Okay. So for those of you who are listening to this as part of something else or part of the podcast, my main topic today is about the levels of friendship, what to do with unwanted gifts, some scams and gift cards. And we're going to talk a little bit about, these levels of friendships, and that's what we're leading into. Okay. But right now, I'm talking about Fire B, which is control, inclusion, and affection. Affection was interesting for me because it measures, do you like to give affection to others? And do you like to receive affection from others? It's a very powerful test, I'm telling you. And if you're curious about this, get with me. I can give you a huge discount on actually getting Fire B testing. It's not test, an assessment for yourself. Okay. And what surprised me when we did the affection, because I don't consider myself standoffish, but I understand that other people consider me standoffish. And I try to incorporate behaviors into my personality or my presentation, such as smiling, that would make you think that I'm more approachable than people normally think I am, because I really do want you to approach me. It's just that my face is not drawn that way. But what surprised me about the affection, every single person in the group scored with a low need for others to show them affection, except for me, which was surprising because I'm not by nature a very affectionate person. Okay. I care. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely care. Oops. Hope I didn't mess that. Oh, hope I didn't mess up my mic. I absolutely care. All right. But I'm still overcoming foot and mouth disease. The Lord is still teaching me how to season my words in grace. And I still just haven't found a nice way to say, stop whining about the same thing over and over and let's do something about it. So I didn't expect that my score was going to come out to need so much affection. And so I was resistant until the trainer hit it really home. He said, you probably give everybody a birthday card and an anniversary card and all these other things. And you probably get sad when no one ever remembers your birthday. And I started that twinge, like, ooh, he hit me, but I'm trying not to I'll let him know. And then he goes, and you do nice little things for people when you can, but you don't see people doing that for you. Y'all, I almost started crying in uniform. And that's a big no-no for women leaders in the military. And he said, the next time you don't get a birthday card, Don't take it personal. Just remember that everyone else in your office has a low need to give affection and a low need to receive affection. It's not personal. They just don't care. That was so powerful. Now, for me, I took that and said, well, they don't care. I ain't going to waste my time and money. I stopped giving birthday cards and I still did Christmas cards, but that's about it. And guess what? Nobody cared. It did not affect morale at all. Another thing I noticed in my life and friendships that I found a parallel with these young people that I've been working with and others that, as I did my research for what to do with unwanted gifts, the other thing that I noticed that a lot of people seem to share the problem that I had before, and I might still sometimes have it, is that I just wasn't really good at giving gifts. I mean, like I try to listen to clues, what they might like, you know, and a long time ago, I even used to, before I had kids, I used to shop throughout the year and I had a whole gifts dresser, like a chest of drawers. I had a whole gifts dresser and I would keep things in the gifts cabinet so I would always have the perfect gift. But they weren't well received. I thought they were the perfect gifts, but they weren't well received. Now I still keep a few stock gifts on hand just in case, just in case my son gets invited to a birthday party and he doesn't tell us until the last minute, but not like I used to, you know. I was good at going through the checklist and I had my little occasions calendar, but it was always a thought that counts kind of thing. I laughed about this with somebody the other day because she said gifts aren't your love language. You're not in tune without a gift. I don't know if that's the truth, but one thing I know, about 15 years ago, I went to one of those church dinners where they do the white elephant gift exchange, and I had bought something I really like. Now, I was already salty because I got stuck with a blanket. The $5 Walmart blanket, even though the minimums are supposed to be $20, I got stuck with the Walmart $5 blanket, and the person who pulled my gift went off about how stupid it was, how horrible it was, and who on earth brought this dumb thing? And a lot of people laughed at him. They were all like, yeah, you're getting stuck with that. You're getting stuck with that. I was so embarrassed and I was angry because it was something I really liked. I almost took it from him, but I was new to that church and I was trying to make friends and I didn't want them to know I was the one who brought it. I wasn't going to get this blanket stolen, so I wasn't going to have an opportunity to steal it from him, but I didn't want people to know it was me. In hindsight, I probably should have said something. This is the same church I told y'all about on the walking video, where later on, my son got invited to his first ever birthday party, and I didn't know what to give a little boy. My son was 4 at the time, and this little boy was 7, and I didn't. And you go down the aisles, and you see all those monster formed figurines and all the little demonic figurines. And I was like, well, I don't know what to give a little 7-year-old boy of 2 ministers. Well, I've done grown 2 boys past 7 now, so I get it now, but I didn't know then. So I got him Play-Doh, something my son loves and something I still love playing with him. Did not go over well. Maybe if I had said something about the other gift, maybe they wouldn't have invited me to the party and I wouldn't have been so embarrassed. But I was $800,000 in debt. So Plato was by that time, in that year or so that had happened. I was in $800,000 in debt. So Plato was a luxury anyway, but I didn't know all that. Um, and anyway, from then on, my one rule that I do for all white elephant gift exchanges, there's only one that I didn't do because every time they opened the gift, you told everybody who brought it. And I thought, well, it would be kind of awkward if I open up my own gift. In retrospect, again, I wish I had because I liked my gift. And then I would have had to explain to all these ladies who were new friends. I didn't know them. A colleague invited me and I was trying to make new friends, but I didn't want to embarrass her. And, but, it was like, well, I'm not used to actually getting something I like at these things. So I just bring something I like. And if people want it, they can take it. But if they don't, I go home with it. And that's what I normally do. I buy what I want and I always pick it. And in 15 years, other than that one where everybody named who brought the gift, so I didn't take mine, um, the only once did I not bring home what I got. One time, people actually wanted what I bought. And it was the first time that had happened in all these years. That was 2 years ago. And I was like, what? So I guess I'm just not good at gift giving, And I think that might be why I'm not offended if I buy something from somebody as a gift and they don't really care for it. In fact, sometimes if I'm not sure about something, I send them a picture and be like, "Is this something you might like?" Now, I don't do that like the week before Christmas, but I try to do that long enough in advance so that I kind of understand what they like or don't like. But, I don't get offended if you don't like it, because a lot of times you can tell when somebody's not using a gift you gave them. In fact, I even asked my husband, I hope he won't be mad at me sharing the story with you. He didn't tear into his Christmas gift. I got him this big old thing of sausages and cheeses. Like, I don't know if y'all ever heard of Swiss Colony. Like, I used to love that. I used to love that when I was a young adult and in college, and I would order it, get as gifts for people, and then I would get all the freebies, and I would enjoy the freebies as my gift, because they give you a lot of freebies. And I hadn't had Swiss Colony in a long time. But I thought, I don't know what to get him this year. I'm going to get a food gift. Every guy likes sausage and cheese platters. Not my guy. And I was just like, you didn't open up your gift. Is it not your style? Because I don't, I'm not going to be offended if you take it to work, but I got you the big one so we could all share it. Now that's a rule. Now you should never do that with a gift, y'all. You should never do that with a gift. And he's like, well, you probably should have gotten just the smaller one. And I was like, "Oop, well," and then at first, it's like, oh, that makes me sad. But then it's like, well, that's $120 I won't spend on that next year. I'm about to unsubscribe from that company. Not no meat and cheese platters anymore in this house because, so me and gift giving don't go well together. I try my best. I think what I need to do is make enough money to hire an assistant who is really good at that kind of thing. That's what I need to do. No, I probably just need to get better at gift giving, you know. Um, but I'm saying all that to say I don't get mad when I mess up and give you something you don't really like. I just make a note not to get that. And I'm not even a big fan of giving gift cards. People say, well, I'm just going to give them a gift card and they can buy what they like. Don't get me wrong. You want to give me a gift card, I will take it. I will enjoy it. But to me, it feels like if I give you a $50 gift card for Christmas, and we only really do Christmas gifts for family and kids. We don't do a whole lot of extended friend Christmas gifts. But if I give you $50 and you give me $50, we just exchanged 50s. We could have just saved our money and our postage, because I don't want your money. I want your friendship. Don't get me wrong. Buy my stuff. I love people to buy my stuff. That's how I want to receive their money, right? But I don't, you know, us swapping 50s isn't doing either one of us any good. Instead, I'd rather we took the money and went out to dinner together or met up for a girls' trip. Or when I come to your town to speak, let's go hang out and get coffee or ice cream or some specialty to your neighborhood. Or let's go snowboarding or something like that, especially now that I live in rural Texas, right? It takes me 3 hours to get to a Macy's. I love Macy's. But if you give me a Macy's gift card, or if you give me a Target gift card, Target is 2 hours away. You give me those gift cards, it costs me more to spend the gift card than the gift card's actually worth, you know? And I was in a gift exchange last year. I don't really know a lot of people out here in Texas, and especially in the Metroplex where a lot of the action is. And so I just thought it'd be fun to just, try something new. I'm always trying something new. Well, they all lived in the Metroplex. And so they asked, well, what are your favorite restaurants? You felt this for 'em. I'm living in the small rural Texas town. Most of my favorite places here are not chains. There's no Maggiano's. There's no Fogo de Chao. There's no Cheesecake Factory. We've got Newton Steakhouse. We've got Patty Thai. I love those two places. They are building a BW3s, Buffalo Wild Wings, in the College Conference Center. So I guess Charlton going to D1 has done some good. It brought us another Starbucks and a Hobby Lobby. I mean, I'm not complaining about the Chick-fil-A that opened up last year, right? Um, oh, BW3s, it's Buffalo Wild Wings. Like a hot wing, it's a hot wing sports bar. It's pretty much everywhere. Buffalo, when they first opened, I lived in Ohio and we called them BW3s. I forget what the other W was, but they had another W in their name. Okay. So if you know it, put it in the chat for me. But they had a longer name and we called it BW3s. All right. But I didn't know what to put down on the gift exchange because the chains are basically fast food places. I don't want a gift card to McDonald's. I mean, if you give me a gift card to McDonald's, I am not going to be mad at you. I'm going to be thankful that you thought to give me something. But then you know what I'm going to do with that gift card to McDonald's? I'm going to go to McDonald's and I'm going to buy one of those packs of all the dollar coupons. And when I run into a homeless person who's asking for money, I'm going to give them dollars of McDonald's money, because they can still get something to eat or drink. They can still get something to drink, or they can still get something to eat with $1 at McDonald's, or I might give them two, because I think the drinks are $1 and you have tax, right? So that's what I would do with it. It's not like it would go to waste. It would help me do something, but I'm not going to eat there. We got a Chili's, what I don't like. Oh, we got a Wingstop. You know what? I do like Wingstop. I guess I could have put down Wingstop. But if you can't put something good down, then they can't get you what you want. It's like anything in life, garbage in, garbage out. And if I don't give you good inputs, then I can't be upset later that I didn't get good outputs. A lot of times we don't feed the system quality inputs. We expect our spouse, our parents, our kids, our sister, our brother to read our minds. And then we participate in the Secret Santa exchange and we say, oh, just give me whatever. Anything is a blessing. And then we're upset at what comes out. And then we make it even worse. We give a ton of gifts to people who haven't put us in the friends category. And then later we're all sad and upset they didn't give us something in return. Now, I am going to hang on that for a second. I'm looking at the time and I'm trying to get better about the podcasts being the time they're supposed to be. Okay. So for those of you who are live, what we do is we take these Thursday night classes and we break it up into the Ladies of Wealth podcast. I know I've got a bunch that need to be posted. I literally have not done any podcasting. We've done recording, but I haven't done any podcast editing since Thanksgiving. Okay, I ain't even gonna lie. Okay, but I got a really fun one for you next week on something we did here the day after Christmas with my family, or right before Christmas with my family. It was so much fun. But I do want to hang on this for a second if you're watching live. But if you're listening to on the podcast, we're gonna save this thought, and we're gonna come back for our Wealth Building Wednesday, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about this levels of friendship, and then we're going to also talk about the new credit card scam and what to do with gifts that you really can't use. Okay.
Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and ask your question at ladiesofwealth.com.